Basic methods of teaching and adult learning. My name is Tracy Milligan, and I'll be discussing the basic methods of teaching and adult learning. The objectives of this presentation are to list the principles of adult learning, discuss the strategies used by effective teachers, and differentiate which strategies are most effective in different situations. I'd like to start with a couple of definitions. First of all, pedagogy. Pedagogy is the method and practice of teaching, and we specifically refer to pedagogy for teaching children. Andragogy is a newer term and refers to the method and practice of teaching adult learners. So the word pedagogy is much older and comes from ancient Greek times, and it refers to a child being led. And in ancient Greek times, when children would go to school, a servant would lead them up the hill for their lessons. Andragogy is a newer term, and it was first used in 1833 by Alexander Kapp, but was really popularized by Malcolm Knowles. And he is one of the developers of the theory of adult education and popularized this term. The andra prefix stands for man. So let's talk about how adults and children learn differently. I want you to think about the most recent time you learned something new. How did you go about learning it? What was different about the way you went about learning something compared to how children learn? And when you were teaching another adult, what principles did you use in teaching them that may seemingly have come naturally, but how are those different than how children learn? So let's think about adults and how they learn and contrast that with children. And we'll go through 6 main principles that are different. So starting first of all, what is different about how adults and children learn? It's the need to know. So when you last learned something new, it was likely because you wanted to know something new. You needed to know something new to solve a problem, or specifically were motivated. So in adults learning something new, they want to know why they're learning it. Sometimes that comes internally. What is going to be the benefit of learning something new? What is the risk to not knowing how to do it? Whereas children learn something new because the teachers tell them to. So it's very teacher-directed. One of the other differences in how adults and children learn has to do with self-concept. And that's really our identity as individuals. So as adults, we have a self-concept of being responsible for our own learning. We own that learning. We're self-directed. We want to be part of determining what we learn and how we learn it. Children, on the other hand, are dependent again on their teacher. The teacher is telling them what they need to learn and how they are going to learn it. The third difference is experience. Adults come with prior experience. Sometimes this experience can be really helpful and can be something that we build upon prior experience. We learn from each other. So we have more experience and we learn from others' experience. Now this can be a very helpful thing, but sometimes we come with our own biases and things that we have to unlearn in order to move forward. Children have less experience. They are again relying on the experience of the teacher. And it is the teacher's experience that counts more. A fourth principle is the readiness to learn. And adults, again, they're going to learn the best when they're ready to learn, when they have a problem that needs to be solved, and that the learning is timely and relevant. And so think about those times you've learned something new and the question in your mind has been, is this clinically relevant? That's what adults want to know. Whereas in children, they have to be ready whenever the teacher tells them that they need to be ready. So very teacher dependent. A fifth difference is the orientation to learning. And that orientation to learning in adults is really dependent on the task itself, on the context, on the experience, and it is that we are ready to learn for that specific experience. For children, it's more likely to be a specific subject rather than a task. And think about medical education and how Maybe historically, we have taught medical students entering medical school by giving them a subject to learn. And that has evolved into more curriculum having problem-based learning, and then on the wards being really task and patient specific. And that's that orientation that differs. And then the last principle that's different is motivation. How are children in school motivated? How are early medical students motivated? Often it has to do with grades. Last time you learned something, did grades have anything to do with it? Probably not. Sometimes adults do still learn from grades, but they tend to be very internally motivated. There's a problem that needs to be fixed. There's something new that we need to learn to help us in our jobs, help us with patient care, help us with specific tasks. And so these 6 differences form the principles of adult learning. These 6 adult learning principles that were detailed by Malcolm Knowles are listed on this slide. And depending on which version of his principles you refer to, you may see that they're either 4 listed or 5 listed or 6 listed. And he added more principles as he further developed his theory. So the 6 key principles are listed here. Again, the need to know, the self-directed, adults have experience, they learn best when there's a readiness to learn, and when the material is helpful, practical, and that's what we refer to as orientation to learning, and when they are motivated to learn. So adult learners learn best when they need to know something, and that's why problem-centered learning works the best. They are most motivated by learning subjects that are relevant to them, subjects that are relevant because of the profession that they're in or learning to be a part of, or motivated by things they need to know for other life experiences. Adults bring this experience to the learning process. They bring the experience which forms the basis for learning. They bring experience of having made mistakes in the past. And they bring differences, different experiences, different ways of learning. They bring their uniqueness to the learning experience. And they need to be involved. Adults learn best when they're involved in planning how they're going to learn and in planning how they're going to be evaluated for this learning. We can use these adult learning principles in teaching adult learners. And there are a variety of different methods that we can use. I like this 5-step microskills method, and the reference is listed here at the bottom of the slide. And it involves these 5 steps. So step 1 is to get a commitment. So as you're working with somebody, to really have them say what they think is going on. Then probe for supporting evidence. What led you to that conclusion? What labs do we need? What other tests do we need to use to look more into what's going on here? Step 3 is to teach a general principle. When we see this, we know that this is the case. The literature supports doing this in this situation. Step 4 is to provide feedback, reinforce what was done well, and be specific in that feedback. Specifically, you did an excellent job eliciting, examining, formulating, researching, communicating by what was done well specifically and how was it done well. And step 5 is to give guidance about errors or omissions. Next time this happens, we should approach this way. What would you do differently if you were in the same situation again? And to really reflect upon the experience and think about what could be done even better next time. There are specific principles in working with adult learners, and one of those is that everyone on the team is a learner. Some of the people on the team may be more senior than others, but everybody has an opportunity to learn in any team-based activity. Reducing hierarchy can be effective in some situations where everyone has permission to contribute to the learning. And reducing hierarchy can be effective in allowing people with questions to ask those questions or people who have contributions to feel less afraid in making those contributions to the team. Knowing the learner's first names and using those first names, calling them by their name, respecting them as an individual. Using I statements to affirm the teacher has been in the learner's shoes at some point. Using the word I. When I was in this situation, this is what I did. I had difficulty in the past. I made this mistake. And using the word I can help engage the learner. In patient care, cultivating joint responsibility for patient care and for learning so that everybody feels a full member of the team and derives that satisfaction over patient care. And then informing the learner about the kinds of patient problems that they will likely be encountering in that team to really set the stage for what is to come and to really be explicit in the expectations. In a STAR adult learning system, the learner is feeling supported in their learning. There's teaching going on. We're accepting of differences, accepting of questions, accepting of what the learner is bringing to the situation. And then there is always respect as we work with each other. This is a quote from Malcolm Knowles. "We will learn no matter what. Learning is as natural as rest or play. With or without books, inspiring trainers or classrooms, we will manage to learn. Educators can, however, make a difference in what people learn and how well they learn it. If we know why we are learning, and if the reasons fit our needs as we perceive them, we will learn quickly and deeply." So I'd like to end by asking you to challenge yourself and to think, what is one new way that you will try teaching using these adult learning principles? Think about the next opportunity you have to interact with another adult and how you might use these principles to teach them. And as you learn throughout your day, what are some of these principles that make sense to you as you are learning? Thank you.